Oh my God.
The biggest discovery you gave me.
Oh
I do want to
no,
address that because that is life change.
bro! I feel like fucking Cillian Murphy in Oppenheimer, like at the end scene where he's just like realizing the damage he's done.
What have I done?
Yeah, I'm Rappenheimer, bruh. I'm
Stop
rapping.
doing that. Stop trying to make your own titles for my podcast.
Rapper sexual Rappenheimer, bro. It's my next project. Be on the lookout.
Rappenheimer, really? Are you just saying that?
Yeah, I'm just saying. I don't know. If I can get like a Gucci style like mixtape cover and call it Rappenheimer, you know, with like all the fucking gold and the bedazzling,
yeah.
then I might entertain it. You know.
You know I make cover arts.
Hey, if we can get a Gucci style cover art from like the early 2000s during the DatPiff era.
I do cover art.
Hey man, say
Shout out
less.
to our sister Woes.
Yeah, no, but fuck. I told you that as like a joke to make fun of it. And then you saw how powerful it is.
Oops.
It's like that scene in The Lord of the Rings. It's like, why should I give this up?
Oops.
Man.
But your Lord and Savior, ChatGPT, one of my biggest life changes ever. And I want to remind y'all, if y'all didn't tune into I'm a real rapper sexual 86 with Java. Java put me on a game about ChatGPT and taught me that you can make a breakup letter through ChatGPT.
Unfortunately.
And then I was like, okay, let me play around with it. And I started watching a couple YouTube videos, trying to understand what ChatGPT do. And since I run a production company, I was like, all right, let me see if I can get ChatGPT to work for me. Man, that first 72 hours was the longest 72 hours of my life. Because just trying to teach ChatGPT how to be like me. But to the point that ChatGPT could write my whole fucking hey programming, and you niggas would never know. Because I fed it so much. That's the benefit I have of ChatGPT.
Right.
Or the benefit I have of what I've already established is I can go back in my Rolodex and be like, okay, this is what I've done. Here's your formula.
Yeah.
Now make it work.
And
So I can send it 5, 6, 7, 8 paid programmers. They'd be like, oh, wow, you're extreme. But it can write me one.
Right. Yeah.
So, but yeah, like ChatGPT, like a lot of that's why I've been so like uphand with posting because I don't have to write the YouTube descriptions anymore.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the hard part is like, okay, scheduling it. What do I write for this? What are the hashtags I need to use? So now I'm doing extra research, trying to figure out which hashtags, all the thought process that goes in. Now I just kind of send ChatGPT the transcript and ChatGPT figures it all out.
I can't wait for the AI uprising and they somehow gain physical form, right? And it's going to be like a sci-fi movie. You know, we're about to die.
Shout out to the throat goats that's soon to be.
But we're about to die in this sci-fi film, right? And then there's going to be one AI that says something and you're going to look up and be like, CG? And it's going to look at you. And it's going to look at you. No, he knows. And I'm just going to be like,
I see what you did there. I see what you did there. Shout out to episode 101 on my way to history with Zion.
And I'm just going to be like, look, I know I've said what I've said about AI, but Nelson, I need you right now, please.
That was a callback to episode 101 with Zion. Make sure it's Zion, not Zion. Zion. Make sure you check in with episode 101 because, yeah, good callback. But yes, CG is my ChatGPT's nickname, and it does call me Nelly Nels.
That's my thing is like, I don't hate AI. I know it's inevitable, but like me being I put myself on such a moral, like ethical back and forth that I'm just kind of like, shit, what do I do? Because like, for example, at work, I'm an administrative assistant. So whatever upper management doesn't want, they just give it to me. They're like, hey, send this email, do this document, da-da-da-da-da. One day, I had to go through this Excel sheet and verify the address, social security number, and like medical plan of 200 people. But there's no like system to compare it. So it's just like I look at the name, then I look on the other screen, then back and forth. And then my vice president was like, hey, can you draft up a menu of this local cafe for me? And I'm sitting here like, I got to go through 200 people and you want it. And then there,
how'd you go from social security numbers to menus?
I'm telling you, that's how random it is. It's just whatever they don't want to deal with, they just give it to me.
Based.
So I go to my supervisor. I'm like, yo, I got my hands full right now because I got to verify like 200 people, but I don't have time to make like a mock menu on Word. I'm like, can somebody else help? And he's just like, oh, just use AI. And I'm like, fuck. And I'm like, it'll work right now. It's so convenient. I can literally just link the website, tell it what I want, and then it'll draft it up. I copy, paste, and then I get back to work. Or I sit there and waste like 30 plus minutes trying to format Word and make it look nice. And I'm just like, and then I went through for 30 plus minutes.
You refuse to use AI that much?
For now. I know I can't. It's just like, it's like what you stated in the last episode. I don't want to use, if I end up using AI, I don't want to use it for like basic shit. Like, what's the weather? Can you do this? Can you, you have a whole business you're running, and it's just like,
and I don't
that
use
makes
it
sense.
now. So here's my trick to like what our sense of Woes is. If what I'm doing is going to take too long, I might utilize ChatGPT in some format. Like the topics I sent you, all mine. I didn't use. I didn't have to use ChatGPT because the problem is ChatGPT will like, obviously the memory is limited, but ChatGPT will like. So what I said was like, hey, Java's coming on for the podcast. I'm trying to draft up some topics. Here's a transcript from our last episode. Because AI built up the transcript from the last episode.
All right.
So I sent a transcript. It's like, oh, okay, all right, I understand. Like, he's your host for Limelight Vibes, and because it already knows enough about Limelight Vibes.
Yeah.
So I sent it all of that information to give it some space to draft up everything that it needed to draft up.
Yeah.
For my preemptive. But then I was like, looking at the topics, I was like, wait, no, hold on. You're trying to send me too many topics about like the paid program. And it's like the paid program is a separate topic.
Yeah.
It's like supposed to be a relatable factor. Obviously, you understand as a creator, you understand like friends not being there to not being a primary source of like business advertisement or anything like
exactly.
that. So that's the relatable factor. But that has nothing to do with what we talk about for the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, we're not building an episode off of that. And then it would bring up like stuff from the last episode. I'm like, no, we're not talking about that either. So obviously the 10 topics that I give are current to me.
Yeah.
And then obviously the ones that you send are current to you. So that's what we're going to talk about.
Exactly.
But like paid programming, I'll be like, oh, what do I want to do for paid program? I'll throw out the topic. Okay, let's talk about like, your friends not being your biggest supporters.
All right.
And then it'll draft me up some stuff, and obviously I'll go through and make changes
Tweak
and stuff.
it and
yeah. But that's about it. That's as much it'll put into the process of doing the podcast.
Yeah.
But plug of the weeks, I still have to find. Topics, I still have to come with. Guests, I still have to find. All that kind of stuff. I do all of that. But then after it's recorded, that's when I let AI do everything.
Yeah.
The camera switching, AI. The transcript, AI. The posting, AI is chopping it up. I'm just picking which one.
Works in tandem.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's the usefulness of it.
Yeah.
It's just like, from my end, it's like, I know I can still handle it. I just don't want it to get to a point where it becomes too convenient for me. And I'm just like, AI.
I got you.
And then like,
next thing you know, they're making your music videos and rapping your words. They're rapping your words, writing your songs, and making your music videos.
Speaking of that shit, bro, fuck Timbaland, bro. Oh my God, bro. Nigga signed an AI artist. I feel like some label head or some executive has some real dark shit on him, because I'm like, this is one of the most world-renowned producers in the world. Worked with like Justin Timberlake. He helped get the drums clean on like one of Kanye's songs back in the day. I think it was Stronger. And now he's advocating for AI and everything. And it's just like, as a producer, you're working with an AI artist or like using AI to replicate the voices of the dead, which is like another ethical gray area that,
we don't want to talk about.
I mean, we can. It's just
no, I'm saying like the people don't want to talk about.
Yeah, literally. Because like, on one hand, if let's say the person signed off before they passed away, what's his name? I'm gonna chop it up. The voice of Darth Vader. It's Earl James.
Yeah, Earl's J.K. Simmons or something like, not J.K. Simmons.
Yeah,
J.K. is fucking J.K. Simmons is from the author of something else.
I'm pretty sure.
But Earl, I know what you're talking about.
James Earl Jones.
Yes, there you go. It was a J in there. I was right.
James Earl Jones. I'm sorry for chopping that up, but like, he passed away, and if I remember correctly, he kind of like signed off on the rights to have AI kind of like replicate his voice. So in Fortnite, Darth Vader uses AI to communicate with the skin that you have. For example, like there was Cody Rhodes from WWE with Darth Vader, and like Darth Vader was talking to Cody Rhodes as if, Darth Vader was hip with what's going on right now. It's like,
Cody Rhodes, you are beefing with John Cena. It is weakening your powers with the Force.
and I'm like, Darth Vader doesn't know shit about John Cena. And there's no way James Earl Jones recorded the lines beforehand. So, he signed off on the AI, and that's cool and all. But then, with business and things, that becomes like a blurry field. Like, eventually you're going to get a contract and, niggas don't read. And then you can sign off your rights. And then, you pass away and here's your voice still being used for this, that, and the third. It's just kind of like, it's too powerful.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of difficult to regulate.
Yeah.
And then, Lord forbid, it reaches singularity point. And
there are other things you need to regulate well before you need to regulate AI. Like
yeah. Oh
podcasts.
my God.
Regulate podcasts well before you regulate AI. And by that, I mean all these podcasts that are, if they are a year and a half old, delete them automatically. Free up those names.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, no. Other things should be regulated well before AI, okay?
At this point, and it's just like a weird back and forth because it's just like the older I get and the more for the people I am, the more punk, I guess you can say, I become, the harder it becomes to not end up like a hypocrite, right? Because, like, I understand the drawbacks of AI and, like, it can harm the environment. There's ethical issues depending on how it's used. It steals from other artists if you're trying to create this, that, or the third. There's no way.
I'm sure you'll appreciate that. Sorry. Completely off topic.
I know exactly this is what I...
Scroll through it.
Oh, you're killing me, Smalls.
If you're a JJK fan...
Yeah, I know. That's why it's like...
Then you understand what he's going through right now when they reanimate Yuta in different animes.
And the part... and it kills me because part of me is like, yo, this is dope.
But why is he in Pokemon?
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, fuck, this is cool. I hope they didn't steal the reference from another artist, but like, it's the back and forth. Like, I can appreciate the ingenuity and the abilities of AI, but then I also can acknowledge the downsides. And then it's like,
it takes away from a lot of original content.
But
to the point that people don't even realize what's original content and what's AI.
And then it also kind of falls back on like the viewer and the consumer.
Yeah.
I can only blame AI so long before it's like, okay, why are you not smart enough to realize this is what's happening? You know what I'm saying? Like, people who are like, oh, I'm an author, but all they do is just give a prompt and then AI makes the story and then they just post that. They're like, and publish it. Like, I remember this happened like sometime last year.